दिल्ली में आपका स्वागत.
Lucknow Junction.
ನಿಲ್ದಾಣದ ಕಡೆಗೆ ಹೊರಟಿರುವ ರೈಲನೆ
Hyderabad Bhattacharjya Express, Saiyami Station, Netaji Bhavan.
The sunrisers have truly risen and Delhi seemed to have gotten caught in that eclipse, but they managed to rescue themselves. They were 47 for 5 in the 10 overs and then have landed up with 133. Ashutosh Sharma, the impact sub, coming in and getting 41. Tristan Stubbs getting 41 as well. Captain Pat Cummins, 3 for 19 in his 4. Unadkat, 1 for 13 in his 4. We are back at Voltas presents Cricbuzz Live. I'm Saiyami, Kher. I've got Joyda and Gilly with me. SRH fans would have been really happy till the 10th over, and then that smile, which was so broad, must have come a little slower, smaller, but they'll be happy.
They'll be happy. I mean, you can't expect teams at this level to just completely collapse for 70 and 80. That happens, but doesn't happen all that often. And I loved the way this game played out, because I think by starting with the new ball himself, I think Pat Cummins sent a message. He was something out there saying that, okay, I'm going to take responsibility. I'm going to put it on myself. And I think that first ball, the wicket just set it up beautifully for them. And after that, I think they've been dominant. Obviously, their foot was on the pedal throughout. They were dominant. But, you're going to have a situation where towards the end, some runs are going to go. You have, these are very classy sides, batsmen of the likes of Stubbs and also. If you look at the run rate there, 9.4 towards the end, perhaps they'd say they could have controlled that a bit. But 4.33 and 5.25 are unbelievable.
Well, Gilly, they got the start that they wanted. Hyderabad with Captain Cummins doing pretty much everything with the catching, with the bowling, picking up 3 quick wickets. But at end, they gave away 47 in the last 5. But they'll still be happy going in at 130.
Oh, very happy. I don't think it's the easiest of pitches to bat on. I think that maybe 160, 150, 160 might even be competitive. I think they're a little bit light, particularly when the second team batting knows exactly what they've got to do, so they can pace it a little bit more. Don't need to be too helter-skelter at the top. More controlled aggression than anything else. But Pat got it right in pretty much everything he did. Jumping around a little bit, but I think the person that invented the impact sub, this is the very type of game that they were thinking of. And I'm still not certain if it's a good thing for the game or not in general, but I do like it in this scenario, because that could easily have been an all-out 80.
Yes.
And it sort of kills the game off too easily. So it's a bit like in the Big Bash, this power surge where we have 4 overs of power play and then 2 that you can use the batting team pick when they use it later on. We see that resurrect games that look like they're headed for an inevitable one-sided victory to one team. And so as a spectacle, I think that impact sub, their injection of Ashutosh was outstanding.
Yes.
So that's added a real bit of interest to this match.
Well, it was that booster shot they needed, Joyda. 41 very important runs back.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I totally agree, because tactically, he's absolutely right. I mean, this game would have ended at 80, 90, 100. That partnership in the middle is what, 66-run partnership is what changed everything around. And I think Ashutosh, the only surprise I have out here, 66 of 45, 22 of 19, but Ashutosh was a dominant partner, and he had to be, because Tristan Stubbs knew that he needed to stay till the very end. He couldn't afford to take it. I thought Ashutosh batted beautifully. The only question I have is, what has he done? I mean, he hasn't had, last couple of matches, he hasn't had 2 matches he's failed.
Yeah.
Very surprising
but for him not to be there.
Totally agree.
I mean, why is he not in the team for the first place? I mean, just something I really find. Ashutosh and Shashank were like, literally, they were the sort of emergency ER for Punjab last year. Anytime they were in trouble, these two would rush and resuscitate the team. And you've got Ashutosh, he's a really good player. Him not being in the 11 is something I don't understand.
Yeah, which is really confused us as well, wondering why he was at impact. But like Joyda said, that partnership was crucial to get them to the target that they've reached. Because 47 for 5, one would have imagined that Hyderabad would have wanted to wrap things up much sooner, but it was a brilliant partnership put up by the both of them.
It was, and Ashutosh took the control. He took the lead as soon as he went in there. I don't know whether if you're an impact sub, you go, whoa, I wasn't meant to be here. I've got nothing to lose. I'm going to go for it. But that was the blueprint that he played with, I remember, all last season. And then, he won one particular game against LSG, I think. Who am I trying to say? Yeah, like Super Giants earlier in this tournament.
Yes.
And, just the last two innings, he was single-figure scores. So, anyway, they have their reasoning for that. But fortunately for Delhi, he's been able to just inject a bit of life into this and just give a bit of hope to that bowling lineup. You never know. But sub 100, that's game over.
But Joyda, when he hits that ball, it stays hit, because there were a few sixes where we thought, 1 second, is he getting out? But they were all out of that boundary line.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he has that power and, the ability. There are very few batters also who can rock back on the back foot, be pushed back and still be able to hit it from 6 from there. And he has that power. He and Shashank both have that power. And I think that is what you find. You see, one of the things that I also believe is that to find consistency in batters 1 to 3, you'll still get a little bit more. To have batters at 6 and 7 come in and be consistent is very difficult, because match situations are very difficult. Often they come in with 7 balls to go, 10 balls to go, they're whacking at the first ball. So, you cannot look at numbers and averages for guys batting at that position. There was last year, I think there was a thing that the average number 7 batter actually batted about 7 to 8 balls in a tournament per match. You know. And so you cannot expect consistency at that position. What you expect is explosiveness and reactiveness to a situation. And therefore, it just gobsmacks me always that he's not in the team.
But we spoke about Pat Cummins in our pre-match show and how he seems to be unfazed with stuff. Today, clearly, he came out unfazed because there was lots of chatter in that last game. After that little break that they had, Gilly, he's come out. And like you said, he was bowling that proper nagging test length when he started off. Everything going well for him today.
Yeah, he had 3 for 10 in the power play himself. So, looks like those conditions suited him really well. And certainly, having said he's probably not losing sleep over the IPL title, you could still see in this match he was full of passion and energy and plenty of zip there. And then when other guys were getting wickets, he was running in there. Even at the end, after the last ball, went for 4. He walked over to his bowler and sort of gave him a smile and a pat on the back, and no dramas, well done. So I like that. He has proven. He was always a very popular figure in the Australian cricket team. Once he assumed that captaincy, the buy-in from the players was total unconditional. It was everyone on board, and they speak so eloquently and openly and passionately about the way he leads them. That it's amazing. A guy like Mitch Marsh and Travis Head. They're 2 guys that just say Pat has directed them so well. So talk about leadership and drawing inspiration from a leader. That's the type of leader Pat Cummins is.
Joyda, we've seen that because he does it with a smile on his face. We've seen it for Hyderabad as well. I know that Gilly is that one Australian exception who's always been so kind-hearted, because Indians don't have the best memory of what Australians do to them. But Pat Cummins
Gilly's not Aussie. He is Aussie. He's true blue Aussie, but he's not. You're definitely not your typical Aussie player. And yes, I think that is a very, very important transition, because traditionally, you had guys like, Langer, very intense, extremely intense dressing room. You swear by the cap, you do everything, but there's an intensity and you're not tough enough, you're not strong enough. And Pat Cummins, I think the culture he's brought to the team is you can be really tough mentally without having to beat your chest about it and do it. And I think he's done it in a very calm way and a very nice way, saying you don't necessarily need to shout at a player or be that intense with a player. Players can be motivated in a variety of ways. And I think he's got, as Gilly, you said, they completely got the dressing room on his side, because times also changed. This is not the 90s, this is not the 2000s. Life has changed. The way people react to criticism, the way people take motivation is very different. And I think he's done a beautiful, beautiful job of it. And every time people, in the beginning when he came, they said, these guys are not tough enough.
Yes.
Well, they won the World Cup. They've won the T20 World Cup. They've won the World Test Championship. There's nothing they haven't won that the previous Aussie greats had won. They've won everything as well. And I think it's fantastic, because he's transitioned these Australians to a brave new thing. And it's just as good an Aussie team. They play, their dressing room may be slightly different from what it was in those days, but it's just as effective and just as good. And he's done it smoothly. I mean, without really ripples and with the entire team behind him.
He's got a couple of very willing allies in the form of Dan Vettori and Andrew McDonald too. Vettori obviously with SRH and Australia. He's an assistant in Australia, and Andrew McDonald, Australian coach. Chalk and cheese between McDonald's style and Justin Langer's style. And it'd be really interesting to hear from the LSG guys what Justin's like in his return to coaching last season and this season under pressure now. But I know Justin's one of my very closest mates, and he was wanting to bring a more Zen-like sort of philosophy to his coaching. So it'll be interesting to see whether he's pulled that off. But those other two coaches that I mentioned, they are very much part of that new age. And there's an element of risk playing that way when your team does lose, that grumpy old people like our era go, oh, you're not hard enough, or you didn't train enough, you didn't hit enough, whatever. But no, got to do it your way. That's Pat. Just do the way you do it. Be you.
Because the team you played with, Gilly, the memories we had is the harsh Australians.
Yeah.
Do you like the way Pat's gone about things? Because he's doing it the way he likes doing it, but it's not very Australian like the quintessential Australian leader.
Yeah, that's right. And I think that's symbolic of society and the times that we live in these days. But I look back at some of the era before me, some of our actions, abrasive, a bit harsh. We grew up as kids being told, that ugly Aussie, you're harsh, you don't take a backward step. I think it's... Don't suspect that they're any less challenging on the field. They back their skill. And if there's one thing John Buchanan used to say to us, and I really credit him for being maybe the transitional person, play on skill, not on emotion. And that's what this group do. Play on skill.
It's a lovely thing you said, because I'll take you back to another coach. There's this fantastic basketball coach who's passed away, perhaps the greatest ever, a chap called Johnny Wooden. And Johnny Wooden has coached Bill Walton, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, 9 championships for UCLA in 10 years. And he said a very interesting thing. He said, never, I don't want you to go onto a field, a basketball court, ever emotionally charged. What I want you to do is practice so well that you can remain that cool enough and beat them with your practice game. Because the day you depend on emotion, there'll be days you won't have that emotion. You will never have consistency if you're charging up a team. So emotion is a great weapon if you're an underdog. You're playing a big team, you have somebody who's better than you. Hey man, I want to be emotional because I want to pump my guys up. But emotional cannot be a consistent emotion, because you cannot have that up every day the same amount. There are days you're going to be down. And their team was so good that they perhaps, in those Buchanan days and, Jeff Marsh days before that, they could win without... they were emotional, but they had to play if you can play at that level all the time and not drop below this, then you don't need this lift, And I think they did it fantastically.
Well, Gilly spoke about the skill. You should always have that skill. But when we talk about the Australian bowlers, we know that Starc's going to be coming to bowl as well. We've seen what Hazelwood's done for RCB. So there is this new age Australian fast bowlers who are lethal, because batters don't like to face them. But they seem to be the very new age kind Australians. When did the shift happen, and which one do you prefer watching? Which is more exciting for you?
The ugly old Aussies, do you mean, or the guys like kept wicket too? I think Brett Lee was a little bit of a change. He was he was a bit of a smiler, and he loved.
He was a charmer.
He got on well with the opposition batters and buddied up. Him and Sachin are really tight. But look, as I say, regardless of what the emotional state is or what the perception and imagery is, make no mistake, the current lot of bowlers have, as you say, the skill, and Mitchell Starc's got the skill, and he's had the wood over this opposition the last 3 times he's played them too. So that might be something we can look forward to in this second innings.
Well, not only the opposition, we know he loves bowling to head, so it'll be interesting to see that matchup as well. Before we get to that, let's also quickly have a look at the bowling card. Sorry, this is the Starc versus Head that we are talking about. He really likes
33 in 71 balls tells you a story out there, but you'd think Head has faced him enough in the Aussie nets to know what he's up to, but it's still something. But see, Head also is generally a high-risk player. He's a streaky player. And I think that's another interesting thing, that, players playing to their strengths. So, Cummins has allowed Head his head. in that sense, you know.
Yes.
Just do what you want to, because, you know, he knows there are going to be 5 matches where Head is just not going to come off. But those 2 that he could, you know, come off on, he won the Voltas Championship for you. He won a World Cup final for you.
Yes.
And I think it's very important to preserve guys like that and allow them to play the way they want to play. Because changing them, when you try and, you know, anytime you're messing with the psychology of a player or the makeup or how a guy plays the game, you don't know what else you're messing with inside that,
Yes.
you know. So when you take away risk-taking, you take away other things as well. And I think they've done very well to keep it out there.
I don't know. We speculated on why Ashutosh wasn't in that. I know it's Delhi we're talking about, but I wouldn't see someone like Pat Cummins, and you talk about Travis Head can be streaky, but he gets a lot of belief from Pat. I wouldn't suspect a guy like Pat Cummins would have Ashutosh out of his team on the back of 2 single-figure.
Yes.
Like he would keep saying, mate, you go in there. To your point, to where like only 7 balls, whatever, just do it, keep doing it. So, yeah, and so that's where Travis Head has received so much backing from Pat, both internationally and in this franchise cricket.
But you know, you were talking about Head and not telling him to basically follow his heart, follow his head, and which he's been doing. But Gilly, we were chatting about it in the green room. He's someone who is always ultra aggressive, and that's the game he plays. But you know, when you have maybe like 5-6 bad knocks and you're in that kind of a phase, do you start double thinking, saying that maybe I should tweak my game around, maybe the first 2 overs I should see it out? Is that something that Head probably thinks of?
He's spoken often about he's not going to change. When he came back into the Australian setup, probably 3 years ago now, the way time goes, but saying, I'm not going to change anything. I'm not going to, if I struggle, if I'm going to go down, I'm going to go down swinging, and that sort of philosophy. This scenario right now tonight, maybe it's timely that he has got a little bit of a luxury to just take a bit more time.
Yes.
And he'll know the matchup with Mitchell Starc. And that's an intriguing one. I think Travis Head shows you his stumps.
Yes.
Mitchell Starc, where does he operate best? At the stumps.
Yes.
So that's what makes that probably lean in the bowler's favour a fraction. So maybe Travis can just allow himself. And if he gets a 50 not out off 42 balls, he goes into the next game back full. Just the feel of bat on ball, and you walk out there, and then away you go again. So that's I would be saying to him, just get us across the line. Yeah, there's no rush.
Because also, Joyda, you know, there is the Travis Sheikh combination, and we know they're both ultra aggressive. And we've seen this with Hyderabad, all the games they've played so far, they've just been very aggressive. Do you think one of them maybe should just take their time in, if not Head, then maybe Abhishek?
See, it's really difficult to say. They have tried to take their time also once in a while. They are aggressive batters, and the way they both operate is they take risks up front. As you said, they expose the stumps, they'll move a lot more. You know, that's the style they play. And it's a different style from where, say, what Manohar and, with Sai Sudarshan and Gil play.
Yes.
It's a very different style. But this is the style that got them to the finals last year. Whether we like it or we don't like it, they managed to do it. So there's a certain amount they can change, but there's a certain amount in the way that they've played the game that there's a DNA to a team. And I don't think that DNA can change overnight. Okay, so they might just be a little bit more circumspect up front, but these 2 guys have got successful when they've taken risks. So they may say, okay, let me temper the way I play, but they cannot fundamentally change the way they play, because that's what it is. And I'll tell you one more thing. Abhishek Sharma cannot be a Shubman Gill. Shubman Gill is a classical batter. Shubman Gill can score runs at 150, 160 batting classically. I don't think Abhishek is that kind of batter. Abhishek needs to take risks to clear the outfield to score runs up front. That's the way he's built. And then once he gets his confidence in his eye in, then he can whack anybody, because he's got the hand-eye coordination and the power. That's the point. That you can tinker with this. You can you can adjust, but you cannot change, because this is what has given them success. And to change it completely is very difficult.
Well, we know that Travis Sheikh are up against Starc. I just want to go back to Starc and maybe a little bit of his process, how he is before a match, how he prepares during a match, during a big tournament. Because he spoke about it last season and he said that price tag pressure was on his head. So this time around, he said, I was just wanting to have fun with whatever opportunity I get. So
yeah, he's a pretty relaxed character, such a gentle character. beautiful fella.
A new age Australian bowler we were talking about.
No doubt about that. But no, really kind, considerate guy, really well respected by his peers. So he's not a guy that builds things up too much. I think very professional, so looks after his body. Had a history of not coming to the IPL because he wanted to focus and stay fresh for his country. And now, sort of towards the latter years, he's said, okay, now I can allow myself the luxury to come and play in the biggest tournament in the world and earn some good money. And I don't think anyone begrudges him that, and make an impact. Win a final. That's the sort of character he is. Very, very relaxed, very laid back. His wife, Elisa, who also captains Australia, she's as chilled out and as relaxed as anyone. So they're a lovely couple. I think Mitch, anyone would have felt the price tag burden. Look at Rishabh Pant this year. Who knows if that's playing on his mind? I don't know, but he's looked a little bit more relaxed, started the tournament well. Last few games, like most of his teammates, it hasn't quite gone to plan, but he'll ready to try and have their best shot tonight.
Well, Joyda, he started this year very well. We know he picked up a 5 against his team the last time they played around. Again, with KKR, he didn't start off well, but in the league games, he did very well. We know he's a big match player, but what do you think the difference has been?
Look, I think, again, his start was, you've also got, this is a Delhi team that's a set team, and I think one of the good things they did was they brought in Matthew Mott, who was with the Australian setup for a long time, New South Wales coach, England women's coach, England white ball coach. And I think, Motty again is a New South Wales player in his own time. And I think there's a relationship, there's a certain amount of trust, and you need to have, it's always good if you can land up there and you know somebody who understands the way you train, the way you feel, the way you do things. And I think that's one of the reasons it's easier to get off immediately. So that's one reason. The second I feel was that last year he was the highest paid player. So the price tag sits heavy on you. And Kolkata in its current structure in the last year was a different structure, the way they looked at it and the way they wanted to play. So it would have been, he hasn't played for the IPL for a very long time. So I think it must have been a bit of a culture shock the first time around. And I think now he knows the gig, got somebody familiar face out there, it's easy, And again, when you walk in and you deliver the first ball and you get a couple of wickets immediately, things change. So I think that makes a huge difference. Again, I think it's really important for them that he goes and starts, dictating things up front, because I think there's seasons on the balance right now today.
Well, you're talking...
Sorry, and the other thing with Mitchell Starc, his greatest weapon can be his most vulnerable point as well. Like we said before, he attacks the stumps. So if you miss by a little bit, you could get punished with the field restrictions in. But he's not going to shy away from that. So his bad days might look horrible, but we know his good days are pure match-winning days.
Well, the last game around, the one which went into the super over, he got 12 dot balls, which went right in there. So clearly this season, he seems to be getting things correct, and they will hope that he continues to get things correct, because like Joyda said, it's very, very crucial that they pick up these 2 points. The update from the centre is that it is raining. So if it continues to rain and we don't have a result, we have to see what happens to that points table, because Hyderabad, in that case, will be eliminated. And with no result, they'll get 1 point each. So Hyderabad goes to 7, but Delhi will go to 13. So what happens there, Joyda?
They will heave a sigh of relief.
They'll take that 1 point.
They will absolutely take that 1 point. I mean, also, this is now this time of the tournament where other teams are now supporting them. So everyone is sitting and said SRH has to win today. Punjab would be saying that, and Kolkata would certainly be saying that. Because see, Delhi is one of the 5 teams in the running. And if Delhi drops off, it'll be... On the other hand, if Delhi somehow managed to scrape a point thanks to whatever, it'll be a very, very, very big... It'll be a huge relief for them, because, yes, there are tough games up front, but this loss would have been really difficult for them.
Well, it's a relief for us as well, because we are not doing the guessing game right now. We get some time to regroup together and think of what we are going to do, because it is raining, and we will come back with more updates and then do our guessing game at that point. So thank you so much for watching Voltas Presents Cricbuzz Live. We will be back very soon. So keep watching Cricbuzz, because you all want to know when we are going to come back and figure out what's happening with the second innings. So do have a look at your notifications. We'll see you very, very soon.
station.
ನಿಲ್ದಾಣದ ಕಡೆಗೆ ಹೊರಟಿರುವ ರೈಲನೆ 2 ತಿರುಚಿರಾಪಳ್ಳಿ
Hyderabad Bhattacharjya Express, Saiyami Station, Netaji Obod.